The following news flash is brought to you by the Lone Star Lowdown, providing your daily bulletins for the commodities market. Today in history, news updates, and the inside scoop into the tides of the alternative. Markets for Wednesday, March 2nd, 2016 are currently trading with gold at $1,240 an ounce, silver $14.98 an ounce, Texas crude $34.40 a barrel, and Bitcoin is currently sitting at about 429 U.S. currency. Today in history, the year 1807, the U.S. Congress passes an act to prohibit the importation of slaves into any port or place within the jurisdiction of the United States. However, the widespread trade of slaves within the South was not prohibited since the children of slaves automatically became slaves themselves. The act prohibiting importation of slaves of 1807 went into effect January 1st, 1808. The beginning of U.S. abolition was today in history. In recent news, President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama will both appear later this month at South by Southwest. The president is scheduled to take part in a discussion on March 11th with Evan Smith, editor of the Texas Tribune, on civic engagement and the role of innovative technology in increasing participation in politics and even solving major problems like climate change. On March 16th, the First Lady will be discussing her Let Girls Learn initiative, which aims to help an estimated 62 million girls around the world have access to basic higher education. This will make the Obamas the first president and First Lady to appear at South by Southwest in its 30-year history. Lawyer Jose Refugio Rodriguez said today that his client, drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, said he wants to be extradited as soon as possible to the United States because guards at the Mexican maximum security prison aren't letting him sleep. Mr. Rodriguez is wanting to negotiate with the U.S. authorities for a lighter sentence and a stay at a medium security prison instead. Radio Formula reported El Chapo fears that his health will worsen because of the isolated conditions in the Mexican prison and the possibility that the lack of sleep could cause a heart attack or a stroke. The process of extradition may take up to a year. The world's biggest seller of corn and soybean seeds and the maker of Roundup weed killer, Monsanto Corporation, issued a profit warning today. They are forecasting a cut to the midpoint of its fiscal 2006 profit by at least 11%. This is after they announced laying off 3,600 employees, roughly 16% of its global workforce. Monsanto shares recently went down 7.5% and have shed a total of 29% during the past year. This is Luke Brody with your lowdown for March 2nd, 2016.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I have a joke for you.
Hey?
The government in this town is excellent and uses your tax dollars efficiently.
You thought you'd see it coming. The moment's here. Comes with your food.
Bitcoin is immune from attack almost completely. But Bitcoin, you'll actually gain far more from using that computing power to generate Bitcoin.
There's a system approaching perfection. It's in time for it to disappear. There's a system approaching perfection. It's in time for it to disappear.
We'll walk deeper into the belly of the beast if it means I'm able to further limit reckless government spending. I mean, I have so many ideas. Some are simple, like take down traffic lights and eliminate the post office. The bigger ones will be tougher, like bring all of this crumbling to the ground.
And who needs the crypto show when you've got Ron Swanson, who's figured it all out? And in only a handful of words, can he tell you the secret wisdom to all things? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Crypto Show, a show dedicated to understanding the promise of currency, technology, and liberty in the pursuit of a free society. And if you believe, like we do, that such a society can and should exist, then join us, why don't you, as we parade through a world unbound by convention, a world sketched by the beauty of the human artist. Because each and every one of you listening right now is that artist. So for the next 2 hours, let go of your most sacred system of thought and entertain the possibility that maybe, just maybe, everything we've been told about currency, technology, and yes, even that dirty little word anarchy is only one part of an ever-expanding, ever-possible, complex universe of ideas, one that we simply refuse to explore. So what do you say, listeners? Let's do some universe exploring tonight and have some fun while we do it.
The government is a greedy piglet that sucks on the taxpayers' teat until they have sore, chapped nipples.
That is so awesome. I've almost never watched that show. I mean, I hear it's a good show from what little bit I've watched. It's kind of funny, I guess. But I definitely love that character. I've probably seen every clip of him or that's worth watching.
He's
on
kind of a
YouTube.
statist, though. He
In real life?
no, he works with the government.
That's true. That's true. But isn't he doing it to make it more efficient or to bring it down or something like that? Not that
something like that.
Not that I necessarily agree with that, but maybe he's just his heart's in the right place. I think in real life, though, he considers it a satire or whatever, because God knows only statists are the smart people. Bernie Sanders, feel the burn, because all my hipster liberal friends who kind of went to college, because if you go to college, you're smart. Really support him. Anyway, by the way,
you know where he got that slogan from, right?
What? Feel the burn?
Yeah. I think it was from one of those gonorrhea pamphlets at the at the clinic.
He's like, okay, gonorrhea. It's just perfect for my campaign. I don't know if that's not a good impression. But what I want to do, by the way, before we get to our guest, a really awesome guest, I'm excited to have him back on the show. We actually are going to have a surprise drop-in guest in about an hour, and we're looking forward to that. So stay tuned for both. Before I do that, though, I want to announce that at some point in the next, month or so, maybe, and I announced this on my Facebook. Some people responded, but not really anyone responded to participate because they know I would.
That's what she said.
Exactly. I'm off the floor with them. But I want to have a Bernie Sanders debate with a Bernie Sanders supporter. At the very least, what I'm going to do is go through his campaign website and go through every single one of his platforms and refute it, very easily. And I've already gone through it, and it's all really stuff that. Anyway, so I'm just throwing that out there. So okay, we got time to watch. But so I'm just throwing that out there. If anyone's a Bernie Sanders supporter who wants to debate me
I
live
guess you
on
didn't
air,
get that. That was kind of a romper room.
Is that like a boxing or wrestling? thing?
Bernie Sanders voters are probably belong in romper room.
What's romper room? Is this before my time?
Yeah, it's some kindergarten stuff, man.
Okay. Anyway, no, but I want to do that. Hopefully I'll find somebody to debate. It'll be a civil debate. I mean, I'm a nice guy, and I know how to do a friendly debate.
Warning, Chris has a knife.
That's just today. Wait till the actual debate. But real quick,
this is an open carry spot, so.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Open carry state. The reason
the store here, you're allowed to carry guns.
Well, no, I know. So. They even had an open carry event here. It was I wasn't here, but I heard it was awesome. But the reason I want to have a Bernie Sanders debate is because, one, Bernie Sanders has a lot of popular support, especially among the sort of younger, hipper demographic. Within the demographic, he's, I think, overwhelmingly popular. And two, a lot of former Ron Paul supporters support Bernie Sanders, which means that those Ron Paul supporters completely did not get it the first time around, which is unfortunate. And then three, people talk about, and libertarians too, Trump is so bad and Hillary's so bad. No, Bernie Sanders is the worst candidate out there. Bernie Sanders is the worst candidate. Why? I don't care if Hillary is a warmonger or Trump is a fascist. Bernie Sanders is an outright socialist. It doesn't get worse than that. And I'm not kidding. That sounds like just some ideological harangue on my part, but it's true, and I can back it up when I debate, hopefully, a Bernie Sanders supporter.
I have people skills. I am good at dealing with people. Can't you understand
Exactly.
that? What the hell is wrong with you people?
Socialism has failed historically, economically, theoretically, logically, through and through, and that is why we absolutely do not need a socialist in office. Not that it matters. It's all rigged. They're all working for the powers behind the scenes. But anyway, let's move on. I'm just announcing that. Feel free if you want to be part of the debate to get in touch with us. So moving on to better things.
Man, he's pretty popular on socialist media.
I know. Well,
excuse me, social media.
Yeah, well, same thing, right?
Same thing.
But let's get to our guest. Enough of me. Our guest this evening is
there's enough of you.
So Einstein formulated general relativity based on my
Chris has his own
space-time.
Chris has his own gravity.
Basically. Anyway, our guest is John Ferguson. He is a blogger. He does his own podcast as well.
Mostly podcasts.
And he is basically a representative or spokesperson, the spokesperson. Or how would you?
I wouldn't call myself a spokesperson for anybody except my own enthusiasm. I don't represent the company Made Safe or really anybody official in the Safe Network, but I do have a podcast, and I have some good support from the community.
That's awesome. Yeah. I do forget that you'll forgive me that you are basically in an unofficial, I don't even want to say unofficial capacity, but that you just are a big enthusiast.
I'm an enthusiast and supporter, and I've made it my business to open my mouth.
And that's right, because you're a smart guy and you're a funny guy and you're a nice guy.
Why, thank you.
And you definitely have had some good shows with us, and we appreciate that.
Sure.
So we're here to talk about MaidSafe, and under MaidSafe is the Safe Network, correct?
Well, you can put it that
I always
way.
get this wrong.
Right. Well, we should start at the beginning. For
Start at the
anybody
beginning.
Anybody who isn't familiar. No, MaidSafe is the company based in Troon, Scotland, that founded by David Irvine and has been working on this project to bring into existence the Safe Network for, it's over 10 years now.
Wow.
This is, it's been an ongoing project.
Can I ask you real quick, and I hate to interrupt, but it occurs to me because what you just said reminds me of something one of our last guests talked about. One of our last guests talked about how someone that he worked with had been working on some technology ideas for years and years and years that were only partially realized up to that point because they needed the blockchain. They needed Bitcoin. They needed that technology to actually be fully feasible and realizable. And I'm just curious if
He's referring to David Johnson with Factom.
Yes. That's
actually, absolutely. For Factom, that would be absolutely required.
So I'm just curious, do you know if they've been working on this for 10 years, was this already doable without blockchain technology, or does blockchain technology really even have anything to do?
Well, Bitcoin was very fortunate for the Safe Network creation because it created a lot of awareness of decentralized currency, it brought a lot of attention to decentralized architectures, and how could you have a network of people working on things that didn't know any allegiance? They were just running all the same software, and that's what Bitcoin is. And it opened the door to as a cryptocurrency to a lot of interest and drive. Actually, the Safe Network itself, though, it comes forward on a different arc, though it does have its own cryptographic currency.
Okay, that's right. So it's not a blockchain.
It is not a
technology
blockchain
itself, but
no.
It does have its own internal cryptocurrency. Which we'll talk about.
Yes, that's a really cool aspect, but it's not the focus. The network structure can function without SafeCoin, but it's so much sweeter with it for so many reasons. It underlying the purpose of the network is, the current internet, because of whatever circumstances and development and arcs of technology, because it was easier, because the technology available made it so, was built in a very centralized. It was intended to be decentralized, but as it's grown up, it's run by servers.
Right.
Everybody goes to a server that and then connects elsewhere.
Well, and really historically too, just real quick, basically the government was, along with like Stanford University and other universities, was big in developing the internet. So, if anything, we might speculate that one of the intentions of that was to keep it somewhat centralized, for ultimate control. But that's kind of besides the point.
Yeah, because it was initially designed in order to avoid being taken down by even such as a nuclear war.
Right.
In other words, it has the capability to route around, which requires a large degree of decentralization. But as it's grown up, it's gotten very centralized and a lot of control. All of everybody's private data has to be tucked behind firewalls and build up a huge, I've heard it referred to as a honeypot. That's where you go, well, let's see, how do we breach those walls? Well, when there's that much interest, that's one reason. Anyway, I think it's best to go back to what the acronym SAFE is. The SAFE Network is designed to be secure access for everyone, and a completely decentralized architecture with, let me add to that, the MAID part of MaidSafe is massive array of internet disks. Essentially, you take everybody who wants to participate, loads the software, and runs it on their machine and participates as a contributor to the network on the, run a vault that stores data, handles communications, and so forth. And I see a break coming up. We'll take it up when we get back.
That sounds great. Thank you, John Ferguson. Sure. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with him on the other side of the break.
You are listening to the Logos Radio Network. The LogosRadioNetwork.com.
This is what happens when you call the cops. Say what? This is what happens when you call the cops. Come on. This is what happens when you call the cops. You get your rights violated or you all get shot. This is what happens when you call the cops. This is what happens when you call the cops. This is what happens when you call the cops. You get your rights violated or you all get shot.
I'm sick of people being victimized by criminal cops. Psychopathic predators terrorizing neighborhood blocks. Equipped with pepper spray, mace, cuffs, tasers, and glocks. They like serial killers acting out subliminal thoughts. Forget what you taught. These cops have got a license to kill. Witness intimidation means that they can use it at will. Code of silence means that the pigs will never let out a squeal. And if they go to court, they know the judge will make them a deal. For real. That's why.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Crypto Show on this lovely March 6, 2016, a Sunday, and I want to wish a very special happy birthday to Lindsay Coleman out there. Her birthday is tomorrow. And before we get back to our guests, our wonderful guest, John Ferguson, who's been in studio with us many, many times.
No, twice.
Is it only twice?
Just twice.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like we've been here like 3 or 4 times previously.
Not many, many times. Just twice.
It just feels like an eternity when he's here. No, I'm just kidding. No, I guess it's only been twice before, but it's great having him. He's a lot of fun, very interesting, very informative about one of his passions, Made Safe and the Safe Network. And we're going to get back to him discussing that real quick, but I do want to make some announcements real quick. Don't forget, Logos Radio Network at logosradionetwork.com. There still is a fundraiser, I think, going on through April yet, so there's a lot of time left. There are some prizes for entering a random drawing. First and second place provided by Central Texas Gunworks. I forget exactly what it is, but you know it's going to be good. And there's also $25 gift certificates from What About Vape, or All About Vape, sorry. The first 25 people to donate $25 get a free canister of My Magic Mud, which is also available here at Brave New Books at 1904 Guadalupe Street. Don't forget to go to Brave New Books. More than a bookstore, more than a health food store, with the cool line of Burke Superfoods and, of course, the awesome longevity products like Tangy Tangerine. Also an event center. Lots of cool speakers. Alex Jones was here only a couple of weeks ago with Roger Stone. So that's the kind of caliber guest we have at the store. So don't forget that. Don't forget Hill Country Home Improvements for all your roofing needs. Better Business Bureau rated A+. They do accept Bitcoin, and they do a great job. And don't forget thecryptoshow.com/free Ross. Donate through thecryptoshow.com/free Ross directly to the Ross Ulbricht Appeals Fund. The QR code goes directly to that Bitcoin wallet. We don't handle any of the funds. And you can also purchase or bid on some cool products like a Ghost Gunner at thecryptoshow.com/free Ross. All of the proceeds of which go to the Free Ross Appeals Fund. All right, well, let's get back to our guest, John Ferguson.
Well, it's not really like a Ghost Gunner. It is a Ghost Gunner.
Did I say like? Yeah. Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
I have to say real quick, and I just because I want to. I remember there used to be a store here in town called Rooster Andrews. Rooster Andrews was an old-time kicker for UT. He passed away some years ago, but he passed away at like the age of 90. So he was a kicker back in like, I don't know, the 30s or something. But I went to high school with his grandson, and they owned a chain of sporting goods stores, which unfortunately went out of business a few years ago, but they were here for a long time. A great store. I just remember they carried this baseball with a speedometer built into it, and they got some baseball player to be the sponsor or spokesperson or whatever.
Right.
And his little quote was, "It's like a baseball with a built-in speedometer." And I remember thinking, that is the stupidest thing ever. It is a baseball with a built-in speedometer, but it's not like one. But anyway, I guess that's sort of like a mental virus stuck in my brain, and that's how I do the same thing.
It is a mental virus stuck in your brain. It's not like a mental.
Did I do it again? Yeah. Oh my God, I didn't mean to do it. I hate you both. I don't know how I don't even realize I'm doing it. That is so weird. Anyway, let's move on because I'm digging a hole for myself.
It's fun to watch.
It's like a train wreck. That's a train wreck of clowns in slow motion. Fun to watch. Anyway, let's get back to our guest, John Ferguson. He's like, no, I'm just kidding. He's an awesome guy.
What would you say you do here?
I don't know what I do here. That's for sure. Comic relief, at least. So that's good. Everyone needs that. But John was just telling us about Safe Network, and Made Safe and the Made Safe acronym. And what was the Made Safe acronym again?
Made Safe acronym. It's MAIDSAFE. It stands for Massive Array of Internet Disks, Secure Access for Everyone. Kind of a corny sounding thing, but when you get the acronym, it really makes good sense because basically it's a crowdsourced internet that does away with the need for servers. And completely secures your data. For instance, you download the software, you get it running, it installs a vault on your computer. You donate a certain amount of hard drive space, processing power, and bandwidth to participate in the network. And,
so instead of servers, sorry, real quick, all of it is happening on everyone's computer who downloads the application.
Right. When you download it and get it going, it reaches out and connects to other participants in the network. And so it's just a spider's web that goes out in all directions.
Cool.
And it's very sophisticated in terms of, and it is very difficult to do. It's
I can imagine,
it's been a while. But the logic behind it is impeccable. It's all been proofed out. It's just scaling it out to implement it flawlessly where it'll run autonomously is the trick. But it's getting very, very close. And that's one of the reasons I thought it'd be nice to drop in and bring you up to speed. But we've got to go lay a little
Groundwork, yeah. So when you say run autonomously, for the timing, there still needs to be some input from the developers, kind of thing.
Well, it's not up and running as a full network yet.
I see.
But it has gone into community testing. That is a big deal. That's a big deal.
That's a big step.
Yeah, and in order to understand the exactly what's going on, I'd have to explain a little bit more. But because there are two aspects, you run a Vault on your computer, but you also have client software which does your job as an end user. The end user uses the client software to interact with the network. And that's what's under testing now. The network is being run by, I think it's either 50 or 100 nodes being monitored by MadeSafe, where they can watch everything and debug. And the community can load the client software, log on to the network without the intervention of anybody. It's completely secure self-authentication. It's very unique.
Wow. And 50 to 100, I mean, obviously that's not, millions.
That's not you.
Yet,
no, but that's testing.
But that's still a pretty impressive, testing sample. Just because, to me, it's like if you can do 50 to 100, probably the scaling beyond that is maybe not so difficult.
Well, right. That's what they're testing now. They're really polishing off, and they've got it throttled back a little bit so they can watch all the interactions very closely. So the user experience from a client side it's a little pokey, but it's a big deal.
Yeah,
it's a big phase. They're pushing for what they call the minimum viable product, where you've got really the individuals be able to download the whole software and start interconnecting as an international network. And from there, it's just add one thing to the next in terms of functionality, and then add SafeCoin on top of that. But I think good thing to clarify in terms of how your own machine doesn't retain anything of your activity on the network. So you decide you want to store a file. The file is automatically chopped up into chunks of 1 megabyte max of, if you have that file you're going to store. And an operation is done that self-encrypts it using the data of the file and the encryption algorithm. So it leaves you with a data map of that file.
Wait, 1 megabyte block self-encryption. Is this Bitcoin? No, I'm just kidding.
Bitcoin is not self-encryption. No, the self-encryption is unique. I don't think this has ever been done before either, where it's completely uniquely encrypted, and the person who controls it retains the data map, and then those chunks go out and are stored in effectively random. It's not exactly random, but to understand in more detail, would have to go too deep. But essentially, those go out onto the network and are stored essentially at random on machines all over the world in multiple copies, so that there's at least 4 copies of each existing at any time.
Oh, wow.
And the network is aware if one machine goes offline and a copy disappears, it's replaced.
Wait. Did you just say the network is aware?
Yeah,
is this Skynet?
No.
I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, it's part of the function.
I understand.
It's necessary.
Bad joke.
No, I got it. No, actually, this network is designed to not be aware.
Okay,
it's designed very much to not really know anything other than the exact functioning parameters of what it's supposed to do.
And you said there was a distinction in the encryption that it does, say, from Bitcoin.
Could your pharmacy release your prescription information to marketers? Believe it or not, it's not only possible, it's probably been done. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht, and I'll be back with loopholes that make it legal for companies like CVS to share your personal health information.
Privacy is under attack. When you give up data about yourself, you'll never get it back again. And once your privacy is gone, you'll find your freedoms will start to vanish too. So protect your rights, say no to surveillance, and keep your information to yourself. Privacy, it's worth hanging on to. This public service announcement is brought to you by StartPage.com, the private search engine alternative to Google, Yahoo, and Bing. Start over with StartPage.
Your pharmacy may be sharing your medical information without your knowledge or consent. For example, CVS pharmacies are likely to disclose your personal health information to business associates. A loophole in the law allows it if parties agree to execute a contract to, quote, safeguard the data. Business associates could range from marketers to insurance companies, and while they might keep information locked up, there's no telling how it might come back to bite you. Ask your pharmacy to disclose how it shared your previous data, and request in writing that it not be sold, rented, or shared. And most importantly, take your future prescriptions to establishments that guarantee real privacy. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht. More news and information at CatherineAlbrecht.com.
You are listening to the Logos Radio Network. LogosRadioNetwork.com.
What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time. Take back the power. What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our
All right, guys, welcome back to the Crypto Show here on this lovely March 6, 2016, a Sunday, here on Logos Radio Network, brought to you as always by Brave New Books and Hill Country Home Improvements. And we're talking with John Ferguson about MaidSafe and the Safe Network. And actually, before we get back to that, John, where can people find out more about you, your podcast, and MaidSafe and the Safe Network?
Well, funny you should ask. My site is safecrossroads.net. And that's the home of my podcast and blog, some articles and mainly the podcasts. And actually, it's I was just talking to you over the break about this. Anybody who really wants to find out, I did a sub-series of my podcasts called the Safe Network School. It's 10 podcasts, and I basically went through and read the system documents and commented and brought in other data. I had some interviews and things that related to it.
Cool.
And in the process of doing that, I took that glossary that I had started the last time I was on the show, and it's now over 18 pages.
Well, do you remember how much it was last time you were on the show?
I think it was like 2 or 3 at that time.
Yeah, it was a fraction.
I had just started it.
And how long is how long is each podcast? How long are the 12 podcasts?
Between 40 minutes and an hour, generally, on each of those podcasts.
And you said there's about 10 of them.
There are 10. There are exactly 10. If you want to just isolate those, that series of podcasts, if you go to safecrossroads.net, and up at the top of the page, there's a podcast link or podcast tab. Just hover your cursor over that, and the Safe Network School logo or emblem will pop up, and you just click on that, and it'll take you right to a page that lists those 10 podcasts.
Oh, cool.
If things get really weird, is there a safe word?
I was trying to think of a pun too.
Speaking of which, I was going to just go ahead and kind of add in the
magic word.
The magic word.
The magic
make
word.
the magic word a safe word. How about safe? And if you can't spell safe, you probably couldn't find Let's Talk Bitcoin anyway. Yeah. So you wouldn't know what we're talking about.
That sounds like a plan. Safe. SAFE, by the way.
Oh, dang.
Oh, I was wrong.
I know. I didn't know about the E on the end.
I thought I was thinking it was SAIF.
I thought it was SAF, but with the umlauts, the double dots over the A. Thought it was like German or something.
Right.
I was hoping you'd do a 50 Shades of Grey safe word, but anyway.
So anyway, that's safecrossroads.net, and I've got some articles on there. It's an entertaining site. I've enjoyed making it over the last year. But also, you'd want to go to MaidSafe.net, MaidSafe.net. That's the MaidSafe company's website. And one place you can go to get everything is safenetwork.org. That's just a page that links everything, including my site. And there's another podcast, Life is People, that is definitely fun to get into. Basically, all of the links regarding the Safe Network are there.
And with is it possible for someone to get in on the testing at all?
Absolutely. If you go to the forum, I believe right at the top is linked Community Testing Begins, and you can that's getting to be quite a lengthy post, but right at the beginning you'll get the instructions as to how to do that. It's pretty easy. You can download. There's not a whole lot you can do with it yet. You can self-authenticate. You can get onto the network. You can actually create a website, a rudimentary website. Actually, there's some pretty creative stuff already there in terms of websites that people have up.
Well, let me ask you. You can build a website. Are you saying they have web building software that's
no,
part of it?
No, it's pretty much a static website.
I see.
And you can do this, just the template website, and put in your own name and whatever you want. Or if you're a little more knowledgeable, you can add files and have links and so forth in it. Gotcha. But it's there's much to be built out, and it's worth doing. It's worth doing. But I would even recommend finding out more and just visiting the forum at forum.safenetwork.io and just ask. People will help you.
And you mentioned that there's a lot to be built out. And if I recall hopefully I'll get this right. If I recall from previously having you on, one of the goals is to get how did you put it, the minimum viable product, yeah. And then from there, of course, I'm sure that the people behind Safe Network will continue to develop stuff. But wasn't the goal, I think, also to get other people
absolutely.
To start adding
and that's already started. In fact, you had Daniel Daybeck on the show about the Safe Exchange and the crowd
that's
sale.
right. Yeah.
That's a whole protocol, and his crowdfunding was very successful. And boy, Safe Exchange coin, the token he created for that is like, whoa, it's like 20x once he put it on the
what?
Yeah, it's 20 times what the crowd sale sold for. For real, it's like scary. And MaidSafe since they started releasing the testing, MaidSafe coin, the counterparty token for the MaidSafe development is up 5x. So
can you hear me? Wait,
there you go. Yeah, you had a gap there.
I'm muting the in between.
Am I breathing too hard?
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're doing your Darth Vader again.
Well, it's Star Wars is still out. I'm just I'm a big fan. Why didn't you tell us to invest when you were last on the show?
I did. Well, I don't know. I don't know that it's important.
I blame you.
Okay.
That I missed out on.
Well,
5X.
hey, you had Daniel. Hey, you missed out on 20X.
I know. I don't like hearing that.
I had hardly anything to invest, but I said, I put out on my podcast, look, Safe Exchange Coin, it's not the idea to have lots and lots of it. You got to get you some. It's going to be useful to you in terms of operating on the exchange. But,
well, and this is a good lesson for me, not to get too sidetracked, but, I've, over the, past 2 or 3 years, I've been accumulating Bitcoin here and there with what little I can put towards it.
Sure.
But I realized I need to start, diversifying into other coins because, just for a variety of good reasons. And I'm going to start doing that. So,
well, yeah, you keep your eye out and be wise.
Have you considered OJ Coin? I know the developer of it.
Well, that's a side joke.
And the developer is right here in this room, actually. And, was just saw him the other day. I was just thinking about him with all the OJ stuff. But anyway, our good friend Bart, sitting in the studio, but anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked with my lack of investment ability. But
I've got to say something too. That's all really neat in terms of the expansion of the coin, but it's so much not about that.
Yeah,
I hate to emphasize it. The SafeCoin is really, I think it's going to be a really neat. It has some great attributes. If you want to find out fully, listen to the Safe Network School because the episode 9 and 10, I really go into that.
Chris is heavily invested in McDonald's, but he keeps spending his assets. So,
I keep consuming my assets. Well, go ahead.
But I was just going to say, the SafeCoin is really going to be cool, but it really isn't the point. The point is the network. The SafeCoin incentivizing is kind of the lubricant of the network. Well, you contribute your resources. You say, well, load up the software and hey, use this much of my storage space and so forth. And the file gets stored, spread around. Your computer passes messages.
I don't know, I don't know about this safe network. There's all these safe words and lubricants and all. But man, this is kind of weird.
Come on, Danny, let me get through this. Anyway, you get it up and running and. The network stores data, little chunks of data, indecipherable completely. Nobody can read them except the originator or somebody who has that data map to call the pieces of the file back and decrypt them on their machine. But you store them there, and when they are called, it goes through a process. You have the opportunity to request a SafeCoin. It's called a farming attempt, and you qualify for a farming attempt based upon the conditions of the network, how much the network needs resources, and also your vault ranking. If your vault's been doing a good job and doing what it's supposed to, it has a perfect ranking. You get the opportunity to earn SafeCoin, and if there's one available at the SafeCoin address that you query, you get one. So basically, that gets a little. It is it's farming. Yeah, that's what we call it. But the details of that are less important than the fact that you contribute resources, and when those are proven valuable, you get SafeCoin as a reward. So, but you'll be getting more SafeCoin as a reward than you'll need because you will need some of it to buy the capability to do everything you want to do on the network. But they'll be extra, so it'll be currency. And there's other things regarding currencies that are really, really cool.
Well, we'll talk more about that. We're coming to break here with John Ferguson, again discussing the Safe Network. And John, as we go out, tell us the websites again.
Well, mine is Safe Network. SafeCrossroads.net. There's also SafeNetwork.org and MadeSafe.net. Check all of those things.
Awesome. Be right back.
Easy.
How do Mario and Luigi access the internet? They use a Bowser. Anybody? He has to be kind of my generation. The original Nintendo Mario Brothers. Bowser, he was their enemy. Anyway, bad joke. Let's get back to stuff that's more entertaining than my bad jokes. And we're talking with John Ferguson about Made Safe and the Safe Network. And John, you were just explaining. Is it Made Safe Coin? Or no,
it's SafeCoin.
SafeCoin, thank you.
MadeSafe Coin is the counterparty token that it was sold in the crowd sale to get funds to finish development. Those will be exchanged once SafeCoin is up and functioning on the network. Those will exchange one for SafeCoins.
Oh, okay, so it was sort of it's separate, but not really, because it'll be convertible.
It is a what was Mastercoin, now it's Omni Protocol token. I said counterparty. It's actually a Omni token on the Bitcoin blockchain.
Is Omni like counterparty?
Yes, it's very similar. Okay, it's a meta layer that goes on top of Bitcoin.
Gotcha.
But those are trading now, and that shows activity. But really, where they are important is when they're transferred to the Safe network. They'll be burned. Those coins will be burned, and SafeCoin will be created
and replace one for one.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. You're right. What matters is the functionality when it happens.
Right. But yeah, SafeCoin is really, really cool. There's so much that could be said about it, but I don't like to focus on it because the Safe network, it really is a matter of, it's been designed from the ground up with privacy, security, and freedom as the basic functioning ideas. It's like your data is completely secure, spread out. Nobody knows where it is. You have the means to get it back, but nobody knows where it is. It's all over. So it's completely private and secure. The network is uncensorable, which has its pluses and minuses, but it leaves us with a lot of choices, right?
What would you say the minuses are?
Well, I mean, I don't think of them as minuses, but people look at it and go, "Oh, well, how can we track the this and that?" So, how about just regular old, minding your neighbors and your business and being in communication and dealing with life,
right?
Rather than going, "Oh, I gotta have Daddy go to whack his pee-pee," Anyway, so I don't look at it as a downside, but there are things to be considered. Yeah. We have to be responsible adults, and go, okay, well, how are we going to deal with things?
Right.
But that's very important. It's, for whistleblowers to not be censored, for people who, there's also going to be people doing stuff you don't like, but you also don't have to look.
You don't have to look, don't ask, don't tell, if you will, but.
Yeah. And the network, there's a lot about the network that's really cool, very innovative. It's kind of like, I think somebody related it, says, what if Bitcoin and BitTorrent had a baby? It resulted in an entire network that functioned that way. It's kind of like that. I mean, that's not technically, but it is it has a lot of BitTorrent type technology in it.
Have you or has anyone at Safe contacted the Whisper network?
It seems like I've seen some talk about that on the forums. I don't really know anything about
Whisper
it.
Whisper is a thing that I guess Ghislain Radic is running that has to do with whistleblowers. It's a kind of a safe
that's
place.
Right, yeah,
right. So.
Well, this is not something that the Made Safe would have any interest in doing. They're putting the network there. People will find out about it and people will use it as it's developed. It's not functional yet. It's just starting. It's almost being born. It's kind of like it's starting to kick in the belly, type of thing. It's getting close, and over the next couple of months, I think we'll really see some amazing things come forward.
I want to say just real quick, to me, I think it's often overlooked. Just to go back, but in a much more relevant way, to the 5 times appreciation of the coin. As you mentioned, that's true. That's not the really important thing. Like, how much money can you make as a turnaround investment? That's not the real point. Right. But on the flip side, I will say that oftentimes that sort of sudden appreciation is a vote of confidence.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a strong indicator that, price signals are very important and can communicate things like that. And it's a vote of confidence, I think, from people because this is not just some random stock that you can get an E-Trade account.
Right. Exactly.
And I just happen to get in on the right time. These are people in the know who understand the technology, who are bidding up the price of it for good reason. Again, that vote of confidence.
We want a sum. Yeah. No, it's very true. And, as it is, it might, there might be some pump and dump by some peoples, but nobody really owns enough to make that completely stupid.
Well, there's always potential speculation.
Yeah.
Look at Bitcoin. I mean,
exactly. And so I kind of go, and believe me, I do not discount the importance of SafeCoin from that angle, because once SafeCoin is up and functioning, think about this. People who want to participate in the network load on even their fairly low spec machines at home and run it as much as they can. They're going to get some SafeCoin back. Now think about that. Even if it's just a little bit, small pieces of this are going to be turning up in the hands of millions and millions of people all over the world, and it can be transacted directly, over the network. But if you have some and I want some, say, hey, I got a couple bucks, give me some SafeCoin. You can transfer it to me and you can have the bucks, or you can have my chicken, or, or whatever. It changes the dynamics of how the currency is distributed into the world.
Arguably, it makes it more decentralized than Bitcoin.
Oh, far more.
Because you don't have to have some expensive ASIC miner or be part of a giant mining pool. Basically, you don't need the capital intensive, both financial and physical capital, to mine the SafeCoin. And that makes it so much more, because I know one criticism many people have had of Bitcoin is it feels like
it's an arms race, and only nation states will be able to do it after a while. Is kind of, I mean that's an exaggeration.
Well, yeah, and that's
but it's kind of following that arc. Yeah,
that's the eventuality criticism. But even on the front end, people are like, well, it seems like the early adopters really overly benefit. But with SafeCoin, there is some of that. There's always
a little bit of that, of course,
and there's nothing wrong with that. But that's so much less so with this coin. That's pretty cool.
I mean, you could just mine LTB coin by going to the LTB network and listen to the magic word. You listen to the podcast, put in the magic word, and you've just mined some LTB coin.
The magic word is safe.
Perfectly safe. Yeah.
Perfectly safe. Just to recap, and I know there's more we need to cover, but so to get the SafeCoin, you simply need to download the client, allow some of your computer space to be contributed to the network. And that is one of the ways you can get SafeCoin. Is that right?
That is basically, aside from this, that's one of the several ways. Aside from the crown sale, you can get SafeCoin in one of three ways. You can download and farm SafeCoin by contributing to the network, and when your resources that you've contributed, as they prove valuable, you're awarded with SafeCoin. Application developers, those that are building out some really fabulous, and we just don't know where all it's going, but just what we know so far is really great. As those are built out, and those are used to access the network, they get a portion of SafeCoin as well. And then core developers have there's a portion set aside for the MadeSafe Foundation, who will pay. I don't know exactly how this works. It's basically a bounty, quid pro quo, for improvements of the core network.
Right.
That is the only way you'll be able to get SafeCoin. And so, yes, it's completely distributed and designed to actually incentivize individual people to use the network. They'll be getting a little bit more than they're contributing in terms of spendable than they need, because you do have to, in order to store data on the network, you need to spend a little SafeCoin to get a chunk of storage space.
Right. And so can you modify the amount of space that you contribute or processing power?
Absolutely. You can, I don't know exactly what all the levers are on that. Aside from, you can always just say, well, store it there, and that's how much room there is to store.
Right.
But the idea, it's actually skewed towards the lower middle end performing devices. In other words, if you get a super big computer with 30 terabytes of hard drive, it's going to take you forever to fill that up, and it's better to have some smaller computers running much more average, and run several of them, or take that big machine and divide it up and run several instances. So in other words, it's designed to maximize the number of individual vaults on the network.
Okay,
the number of individual nodes on the network that are doing the network's business. It's much better to have more of those nodes rather than big, powerful nodes.
Okay, so again, another decentralizing element of the network, and that's really cool.
It's. I tell you what. I've got just about the right amount of time. Anybody who wants to, I wrote an article, and it's published on Let's Talk Bitcoin as well as safecrossroads.net. It's called The Decentralization Itch. Because, we're itching to do anything about we got to decentralize everything. Well, there's a little more to it than that, and I would look into it. But anyway, it's a great article. But at the end of that, I said, this was eating at my mind, this concept of decentralization and what it means and choice and things like that. The reason that I got so heavily, I jumped into the Safe Network, was that it typifies that respect for self, respect for the individual and their own choices, because that is the true nature of decentralization. Only individuals can actually choose. Groups, it's a fiction. I choose to go along with the group. The group doesn't choose. Leaders lead, followers follow, but everybody's responsible for what they do.
Very good. That's very good. That's a crucial point in society and in politics. Mises talks about that a lot. He would call that methodological individualism, about how he analyzes economics and politics.
Right.
And that's just...
It's an undeniable fact if you just...
It is. It's obvious.
So I pound that drum over and over.
No, and that's important because so many fallacies and errors are built up on not realizing that. John Ferguson will be right back. Stay tuned here on The Crypto Show. We'll also have a special guest coming in.
And welcome back to the Crypto Show. We're talking with John Ferguson about Safe Network. and SafeCoin and everything else that's safe about it.
Including the magic word.
And the magic word is safe. So, John, I guess we were talking on break about so the average Joe, how would he use the Safe Network? What's his advantage of using this on his computer and to hide his data or secure his data or whatever?
Why would people want to participate? Well, because the Safe Network is designed to give choice to the individual. If you want your data to be private, it's private. If you want to share it, you can share it. There really is no in between. You have to opt into disclosure. And that includes storing files. If you want to store data that only you can access or that only you and somebody else can access,
or if
that's in your control.
Or if someone steals your computer.
If someone steals your computer.
Breaks into your house, steals your computer, you got backup of all your your photos that...
Look, this is basically what happens technically is the world.
This is like Carbonite, only it's spread out everywhere.
Exactly. Basically what it is all participants end up sharing one file system. Basically, the Safe Network is one global file system. Right. And it's spread out there and it's safe. You can log on, you can access your data at any time. You can store anything you want. You log off, log back on, it's all there. And doesn't matter. You can save your treasures there, or there's so many other neat things about it. Technically, it presents some obstacles because it's very easy to set some things up on a server basis, which is how it's designed now, and it's very easy to do those things, but not securely, because you basically get it's why we have all of these credit card leaks and private data leaks and everything. If you don't want to have your data leaked, don't put it places where it's in somebody else's control.
Right. I mean, and this is something like, our listeners may not even use Bitcoin because we're on the FM here. And so, this is something that they could use to help secure their data. But how easy is it for them to put this on their computer or try to use it?
Right now it's impossible because it's not there yet. But the design is dead simple because it's the idea, and actually it's showing up that way in the client testing that's being done now. It's a little buggy, but it's a very simply and straightforward design. And no, it's just a matter of downloading the software and installing a vault on your computer and letting it go. Actually, you don't even have to have a computer to run it on the computer. You can just run the client, which basically looks after you as an end user, so that you can adjust the network, you can transact, you can store data. If you have SafeCoin, if you have a little bit of SafeCoin, you can, and which you can get in various ways. You can store data directly on the network. You don't have to run a vault at home or wherever.
And this is similar to Tor in a way.
Yeah, kind of, sort of, in that Tor is a privacy layer that's it's useful, but it's imperfect.
This is Tor with a storage application to it, basically.
You could, kind of, sort of, except it's much cooler than that. No,
Tor is kind of difficult to use.
It's actually dead easy compared to Tor. Tor, you have to work and be careful to be private and anonymous. Safe Network, you have to work. You have to work to not be private.
I recently, I think it was about a little over a year ago, maybe, that I learned how to use Tor, and I learned in a really weird way. I'd never been on Tor before, knew nothing about it. And I was helping out to do some investigations for the Silk Road thing, and Ross Ulbricht's dad on the phone walked me through how to get on Tor.
How perfect is that? That's a story.
Yeah, that is really to help. Basically, I was going onto the Silk Road forums and looking for keywords and stuff like that.
Wow,
try to help with it. So.
That's really funny. I just wanted to say though that I like what you just said, that you have to work hard to not be private or safe. Or secure on the network.
Exactly.
Because that is precisely the way it should be done. That's the way that every anything that has to do with privacy or security, or really anything, should be done, especially in this day and age. Because I'll just give you an example. I rented a car. I've been renting a car recently because my car got totaled and I'm in the process of buying a new one. And it's a nice car, and for the life of me, I couldn't yesterday, when I first had to fill it up with gas, find the thing that opened the gas tank. And I looked everywhere, and finally I Googled it. And of course, someone had asked the same thing years ago. And anyway, I found it was like right next to the seat.
There hasn't been anyone that dumb for years?
That is one way you could look at it.
Yeah.
But and it was this little lever that, because the car is black and the lever's black, blends in.
See it.
It's in the shadowy part next to the seat. Anyway, my point is,
nobody's going to steal your gas without you.
That's true. That's a bright side of looking at it. Well, I'm not saying I'm not an idiot, because I kind of am, especially when it comes to simple things like that. But what I realized actually yesterday is that same principle. They should make it kind of more foolproof. And admittedly, in this case, this was maybe just a bad sort of ergonomic error. Like it should have really been in a more obvious position. But with this technology stuff, there are always going to be the mass of people who are always kind of behind the curve when it comes to cutting edge technologies, who kind of need to be, handheld through the process. And that means making sure they can do what they need to do without screwing it up.
Does anyone under 30?
Anyway.
Does anyone under 30 know how to drive a stick shift?
I don't.
No, I'm not under 30. I do know.
You don't know how to drive a stick shift?
I tried it once on my. Shut up!
It's not something you could try once.
Oh, you did that on purpose because I'm 34. No, you purposely chose that number just so I would look.
No. When we were at Anarchapulco, Jeff was talking about Dan Dix and Luke Radowski. Yeah, they went to Bilderberger, right? And so Jeff rents a car, and in Europe, most of the cars are stick shift. And Luke and Dan didn't know how to drive the car because it was a stick shift.
Bilderberger.
It's like So anybody under 30 is like stick shift.
I tried it once when I was 18 on my friend Norma Lisa's mother's VW Beetle, and I did a terrible job, and I just quit after that. But anyway, I can't even operate a stick shift, let alone higher technology. So that's why we have someone like John Ferguson to explain it to me.
Oh boy! Well, don't forget I'm at a crunch point. I'm kind of the between the hammer and the anvil. Because I do bill myself as the simpleton of Project Safe. And that really is true. I have beat my head against trying to understand things so that I could put them forward and communicate. And I've made some progress. I feel very good about what I've been able to get across. But I still, regardless of what I think I know now, you'd be surprised how fast I can get some confused when somebody who says, "Oh, you seem to know what you're doing. Just take that and put this file there and then put this into the command line." And I'm sorry, wait. Even finding my way around, just a website controls.
Right. Well, there's always layers of abstraction or complexity to any technology, especially computing technology, where it just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. I mean, you can do it all the way down to the machine language, or even the electrical components and the logic circuits, and you know what I'm saying? Like, there's always someone who's going to know more, and I'm impressed with the other brilliant people we've had on who just seem to know so much. But but still, I mean, I'm impressed how much you do know, and you've learned over a relatively short span of time. You've only been studying it, right, for like a year?
Well, I was following the forums for about a year before I launched into doing the podcast. So I understand a lot from a very high level, and I do have the ability to abstract and to have intuitions.
And that's the important thing, I think.
Well, I think that's the important thing for interfacing between people who haven't a clue and those that really know a lot more about it. And so I can just be right there, and I have a high tolerance for my head feeling squashed as I try and figure it out.
Well, the important thing is that sort of the combination of drive and humility, where it's like you are humble enough to admit that you may not know something.
That's just a ploy, by the way.
I kind of figured. His head's gotten bigger every time he's come in, so I was kind of just joking. I was just being nice about the humility.
I brought a Sawzall. I can make the door a little wider for him to get out.
There we go.
For me.
Well, yeah, for you mostly, but
no, but I mean, it's important to. It's kind of like with Danny.
Wait, I've just decided I'm taking all the passwords off of all of my stuff, and I'm putting a stick shift on it.
I wonder if you could do that. I bet someone could rig.
I think it'll be much safer to have a stick shift than a password.
If they can make driverless cars, I'm sure they can do password protected computers with stick shifts. That's pretty funny. I like that.
I do too.
But it's like Danny, who operates all the back end stuff for the show. He didn't know how to do any of this like a little over a year ago, and he taught himself because he had the humility to admit that he didn't know something, to learn from other people, and then just to learn on his own.
Well, that's where it starts. That really is where it starts, and I try and keep myself humble on that, because when I don't, I really make stupid errors, as a few people will attest. But a few people in it's safe in the safe network and so forth, they'll go, "Joe, I'm not sure about that." I say, "Yeah, okay. Well, I thought I was telling it right." But anyway.
Yeah, and especially for not, having the formal education experience of more technical matters, and that's where I want to go. I need to, we had. I'm not taking it too sidetracked, but I know that's what I do sometimes. But we had Brian Deary from Factum on the other day, and he really inspired me to buy some books on cryptography and get a deeper understanding of cryptography, because I understand it just, the basic level that a lot of people do, but there's a lot of deep stuff to it that is important, not just for understanding Bitcoin and of course just internet or computer security, but also a lot of issues that are coming up these days with those topics. And so, I encourage everybody to learn more just in general about internet security and computing, and to check out John Ferguson's tutorials. Again,
the Safe Network School at safecrossroads.net. Hover over the podcast tab and it'll say Safe Network School. Take you right to a page where there are 10 podcasts. And if you really want to go back to all the way to square zero, listen to podcast number 1 of the series, which is what is the Safe Network anyway? Which is just kind of an introductory. That was like almost a year ago, and it lacks polish, but it's a good place to start.
Well, and so if people know a little more, is there a particular episode they could start from instead? Like, let's say
I would recommend going if you just know something about it. I wouldn't go past episode 2 or 3 because it's just a matter of just follow the flow, go through the flow. There's review. You might think you know things, and you probably do. You may know stuff, but it's good to go over them because one thing I learned in this and trying to get it across and trying to communicate is that it's not that it's complex, though I guess you could say it's complex, but it's extremely intricate. One thing depending on another, it depends on the whole scene. This is not one point of security. It's not like we're going to build a firewall that nobody can get through. No, we're going to baffle them with something that nobody can understand except the network itself. And it doesn't know what it means. It just knows I've got to pass this here.
Until it becomes self-aware.
Yeah, well, I don't think that can happen with this. But anyway, maybe in the future once we get compute, because that's another function that will be possible.
Well, maybe tell
distributed computing.
More about that on the other side of the break with John Ferguson talking about the Safe Network. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
This is the Logos Radio Network.
For the longest time, for the longest, if you said that Bitcoin was my life.
Stop. Don't do that. Okay, I'm gonna
just grab his ass instead next time.
It'd be a lot more pleasurable. No, but I'm startled very easily.
That's what she said.
It's not that I'm like a scaredy cat or anything exactly, but I do startle. Like if people like sneak up behind me in the hallway, like especially if I'm like daydreaming or focused on something, I get startled. So don't startle me. I get angry when I'm startled. Anyway, but we're talking.
What are you going to do? Eat me?
Maybe. We're talking with. Excuse me. John Ferguson here. OpenCrossroads.io. No. Not open. Just kidding. Save Crossroads.
Crossroads.net.
Forum. That's what I said.
Forum.safecrossroads.io.
Yoo-hoo, baby!
Yeah, that's actually the forum is a great place. It's really heating up. We're getting more since this client release. We've seen a lot of, aside from the MadeSafe coin price going up, we've seen a lot of influx into the forum. A lot of people active. It's really great to see. And the developers. Oh, I had just my last podcast was with. This is interesting. This is technically interesting. Yeah, people who know about Bitcoin will find it kind of astounding too. But Harman Klink, who's been a forum participant for some time.
Is that Colonel?
No, it's his great grandson.
Sorry,
Harman. He's been posting on the forum for a long time as Seneca. He's a student in Holland.
Is he a bit of a cynic? Is he a bit of a cynic?
Sort of a good pun.
Yeah. Anyway, he's graduating. He's in his final year of college, and he's in computer science. But he's been following the Safe Network for a while. He's trying to do his thesis on a project about the Safe Network, which has to do with overcoming the complexity of, well, how do you have a forum on the Safe Network, which is distributed, and it's easy with a server. Everybody goes to the server, and it serves out the data and correlates everything. How do you do it? He's got some brilliant ideas, and part of his discovery in working that through was it's easy to make alternative tokens on the Safe Network. It's actually, if you'd have to understand a little bit about the structure, but it's actually easy.
Is that using
to make.
Omni, or is it totally separate?
No, it's completely separate on the Safe Network to make different kinds of tokens. It's giving them value. That's difficult.
It's the hard part, yeah.
And limiting their, supply and so forth. So he actually came up with a way to mine altcoins on the Safe Network.
Wow.
Which it's wild, but it's not like mass mining. It's like, anyway, listen to podcast number 30 of the Safe Crossroads podcast. It goes all into it, but it's a little hard to describe technically in just the little time we have. But it has to do with the data structure, with how data can be owned on the network. In other words, you have something and it's cryptographically owned and can be transferred.
And when you say owned, it's like got a digital signature?
It's got a digital signature, and that's the owner, and that's the only person who can change it. One of the things that owner can change is ownership. Say, well, send it to this person, and that person gets to be the owner and previous
owner. That's kind of cool.
That's how SafeCoin works, actually. But SafeCoin has some other aspects to it because it's the network currency.
Right.
But
and how does this relate to the forums, by the way?
Well, he started tracking this to go, well, likes and votes, likes, upvotes and downvotes. How do we do that in such a way that it actually has meaning? And so he started investigating using tokens to do that. It's very, very closely related to what Daniel Debek is trying to do with the safe exchange in order to have, you've got an access token and you can vote up and down contracts and so forth.
Oh, okay.
So he's actually figured out the mechanisms of how to do that.
Right.
But part of that is also, this part isn't going to apply to Safe Exchange Coin, but it will apply to just about any, you can do almost anything you want with it. Anybody who, most of the people out there, this may not mean something to, but those to whom it means something, go listen to episode number 30 or any previous ones you need to get a technical grounding in what it's talking about. But we're talking about being able to mine altcoins on the Safe network. It sounds completely contradictory, but it's not. It's very cool.
It's so meta. I mean, it's so like the Matrix within the Matrix.
Oh, it opens up so many.
Our
cool,
universe is a simulation.
The neat thing is the neat thing about it is there's a real simplicity to it. That's part of what we're going to have to adjust to with using the Safe network because of its structure. It makes how we do certain things difficult in that way, but it opens up developing other ways, which actually open up a lot of capabilities that just aren't possible with the current internet structure.
So what do you think of this? Say an economy that's based on these cryptocurrencies, say Walmart and Target. Everybody issues their own coin that you spend at their store, and you would be able to basically use it like gift.
Yeah.
You go and, you buy your Walmart tokens and you go to Walmart, or you buy it while you're standing in line and buy what you want.
And you get a discount for spending in Walmart tokens or whatnot. Yeah. Well, actually, Adam B. Levine of Let's Talk Bitcoin fame, the creator of the progenitor of the network upon which we post podcasts.
He's in a band, yeah.
No, he actually has a company called.
He sings that song. What's that song?
30 Seconds to Mars or something like that.
Something like that.
Anyway, no, that's right. That's another Adam Levine.
When we had
that's why Adam has the B.
We were making fun of him.
Yeah. No, I didn't catch that, but no. He has a company called Tokenly, and he's been working out this whole concept. It's very much applicable to the Safe network. It's applicable. Tokenly is very applicable in all directions, just technical implementations. But I'm envisioning a world where there are many currencies and they're voluntary and they'll be exchanged however people want to exchange them. And the use of those currencies is a vote of confidence for them. I have no confidence in the dollar other than, okay, well, we've got the biggest guns and everybody else has been a bigger fool to use it. Yeah. That's kind of where we're at with the U.S. dollar.
Well, you would hold all these different tokens. Say I have 1 million Walmart tokens or whatever, and I'm going to go over to Polynex and buy me some Target tokens by selling my Walmart tokens.
Sure. Or you can swap them directly on the Safe Exchange.
Right.
Well, with people, you don't have to go through an exchange.
I think the point is, screw the Fed. We've just created a currency that everybody can participate with. Well, that's creating their own currencies.
That's amazing. Well, actually, Omni Protocol and Counterparty already afford that to a very large degree. It's just hard. It's harder to do.
It's going to take a while, but eventually, I think that's what it's going to really come to.
No, I agree. They very much so. Even with the Bitcoin and other cryptographic currencies like that, the Safe network adds a new dimension. Is my point. And it makes it easier.
And forget the technical sophistication and complexities involved. What a lot of this stuff brings to mind with these cryptocurrencies is the sort of I talked about different levels of abstraction of computing. There's different levels of abstraction of talking about money.
Yeah.
Because, money, we think sometimes too strictly in terms of, pieces of paper or whatever to buy stuff, which in a sense is like a token, but it's a universalized token. When you buy gift certificates to Walmart, kind of like what he was saying, that's a form of money in a sense.
Absolutely.
Within the Walmart country, if you will.
It's a Chuck E. Cheese token.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hey, man, I like those little things.
Or like if
tickets get you, prizes, you spend them and you get those tokens are worth something.
And they say, the old adage, vote with your dollars, but that's really true. Notice here with some of these cryptocurrencies, they're literally voting tokens basically within some of these systems.
Absolutely.
And so, but they're also currency within the system. I mean, it's just interesting from a sort of just from a conceptual or economic whatever level.
No, that's something not to be overlooked.
These different ways to understand what is money, what is currency, what is voting, what is a token, what does it all mean?
Value?
What is value? Most importantly, I think, what is value exactly?
Well, exactly.
Really, a Walmart token is way more valuable than a Fed token. I mean, at least they have a product.
That's true. At
least you're going to get something for it.
At least I know I'm going to go.
Oh yeah, I'm going to get me some Lucky Charms.
And if they overinflate their Walmart tokens, you can just go to Target.
Exactly.
It's hard to do that regarding the Fed.
Target.
Okay. And I shop at the Home Depot as well.
That was pretty good. Well, we're coming to break.
The Home Despot.
With the Home Despot, John Ferguson. We're talking about Safe Network and SafeCoin and all sorts of cool stuff that has to do with internet privacy, decentralization, and the future of mankind in a good way that helps protect us not just from the Fed, but the powers that be at
and the
large.
computers that become self-aware.
Skynet.
There's a spooky new search engine on the internet, and you've probably already been caught in its web. You'd be amazed what it knows and how it gets its information. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht, and I'll tell you more in just a moment.
Privacy is under attack. When you give up data about yourself, you'll never get it back again. And once your privacy is gone, you'll find your freedoms will start to vanish too. So protect your rights, say no to surveillance, and keep your information to yourself. Privacy, it's worth hanging on to. This public service announcement is brought to you by StartPage.com, the private search engine alternative to Google, Yahoo, and Bing. Start over with StartPage.
Spokio.com boasts that it's not your grandma's white pages. How true. Spokio is a creepy website that specializes in digging up personal information about people and their families. It goes beyond public source information like tax records and delves into the deep internet to dig up gems like the names of your children, your age, your home value, your income, hobbies, and even photographs. Then it posts all this information on its website, making it available to every Tom, Dick, and Harry without your knowledge or consent. I highly recommend searching for your own name at Spokio.com and following the procedure for removing your listing. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht for StartPage.com, the world's most private search engine.
Trails.
Looking for some truth? You found it. LogosRadioNetwork.com.
I've been walking a tightrope between fact and fiction. Been wrestling with demons in small bottle prisons. Been talking to sinners who claim to be Christian. Been shouting at leaders who claim to be listening. And the pendulum swings from the left to the right. Its momentum increases the need for the fight. Like a moment of blindness and a lifetime of sight. And I am caught somewhere in the middle.
Is anyone else craving donuts? Because I know I am.
What are you, a cop?
How dare you? How dare you, sir? I think in my past life I was a cop. That's why karma reduced me to this level of being really fat. What? I'm getting out of here.
It's a donut guy. I was watching this video on the internet the other day about this guy he has this fishing pole with a donut on it, and there's like some cops standing on the corner.
No way, are you serious?
And he throws this donut and he starts reeling it in.
I want to watch that.
Needless to say, he got arrested.
Do you know why cops like donuts so much? Because they like to tell people, do not do that.
Oh.
Do not do that.
You know, whenever I'm in trouble, I never call 911. I just look up Dunkin' Donuts on my phone.
Where's the nearest Dunkin'? Where's the nearest police headquarters? Yeah. I love Dunkin' Donuts. By the way, their vanilla cream donuts are like the best. Anyway.
Did you know that there's less police violence against people in a 5-mile radius outside of any Dunkin' Donuts?
I believe it. But what about Krispy Kreme?
I don't know. I just made that
What
up.
is it?
Sounds legitimate
Sounded plausible, though. Yeah, exactly. Anyway.
We should do a survey.
Is there a study on that?
There probably is. There will be.
I'm going to do a study. I'm going to park my cruiser outside of Dunkin' Donuts and observe what cop activity. Excuse me. All right, let's get serious, guys. Come on.
Why am I here?
Tired of y'all clowning around. No, I'm just kidding. John Ferguson here talking to us about the Safe Network. It's been really fascinating. It's fun. It's just fun to talk about all this stuff because even if, like me, you don't have the deepest technical understanding of a lot of this stuff, you can still grasp it in the abstract on a basic level, and you still get to appreciate all the different layers of it that sometimes are not always immediately intuitive.
Right.
But then as you think about it and talk about it, you start to uncover just all the different aspects of it that are just beautiful and have a lot of potential for, just human flourishing and new ideas and new technologies. And so.
No, absolutely. And that's why when Danny brought us in from a break earlier, I don't know if you heard, we were talking about, what uses the Safe Network. And I've been confronted because I am really technologically simple and I can't prove to you that this is going to work. I happen to have informed myself as best I can. And I can make sense out of it. But regardless of whether this project actually succeeds as it is, it's kind of like we don't know if Bitcoin will succeed. Really, I mean, the current debate, because there's other stuff going, but it doesn't matter because the soil has been tilled. Voluntary action is the core. Individual choice is where it begins.
Right.
All of human activity centers around individual choice. We can say, it's all about the group. Yeah, but groups are made up of individuals who choose. And if enough people go another direction, then the group, who makes the choice in a flock of birds that suddenly changes direction? I don't know, but they all do because they move. And either that or they're not individuals, really. I don't know how that goes.
Well, yeah.
But and that's where the safe network is so fascinating, is that it interacts on a technical level. It's what appealed to me the most about it, because at its core, it's being designed around choice, around the empowering the individual to act based upon their best observation, their best interest. And that's something that no ruler could ever do, to make the right choice for everybody.
Are you sure?
But there's a possibility that everybody can make a better choice themselves.
Right.
And if the safe network or any other technologies empower that, that's really cool. But I think it really boils back to also being aware of that truth at the beginning. That's why that article, The Decentralization Itch, I think was so important, because at the core of that, if you follow the logic, it's really clear. It's inescapable that only an individual self can choose. Or if there's a higher self that chooses, the individual has to go along. So it really boils back to, and that doesn't even matter who you really are. I mean, what how do you get there? I don't know. Some people think it's a bag of chemicals that react and give you the illusion of having self. Or maybe there's something else going on that's more mystical. I don't even know.
It's kind of immaterial.
It doesn't matter, because you do know that you are, by the virtue of when I say, hey, you go, yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I begin. I'm big on this. And so even as regards to the safe network, I don't know. This may fail, but pushing forward the concept that, no, we need to design things that empower individual choice, because that empowers responsibility. It actually empowers empathy and a much more sane, much more enjoyable group experience.
I don't believe in your theory, so I think you should quit.
I so you're empowering. You're using your choice to deny mine. Huh?
Actually, I'm just being a smart ass.
I know, of course you do. Of course you are.
I like how you say it.
No, I mean naysayers.
Naysayers are. I don't. In all of this, I've learned to really be quite willing to have whatever and whoever do whatever they do, because really it doesn't.
I don't want to know more about that. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding.
Because it really, it's kind of like, okay, it's why fight it?
Yeah. No, but not to get too off track or too deeply philosophical, it is still important.
But that's what I like.
I like it too. It's still important to know that like Mises talks about constantly, only the individual thinks, only the individual acts. And that blows to smithereens all of the collectivist notions and fallacies. The whole idea of the group it makes no sense, because the group is, as you already mentioned.
Who's this Mises fellow you hippies keep talking
about? Mises.
Isn't it pronounced Mises? Anyway. It's a long night. No.
Right? It's got the umlauts over it. No, but
sneaky umlauts.
Right. No, but anyway, it's just really important, because a lot of terrible things have happened in society using collectivist fallacies that are built on nonsense that are contrary to what is common sense. Everyone understands that they're their own individual self.
Exactly.
Everyone understands that regardless of whether free will exists, the illusion of free will exists.
No, it does. I have the album.
Is that? I don't even know.
It's a Rush song.
You're too old. But if anything, the illusion.
At least there's an illusion, yeah.
And if anything, the illusion of free will is essentially the same as free will.
Might as well be.
Right. And so, but anyway, the point is, it's like, it's important to respect the individual, not out of some, we're not advocating some atomistic, like, hermit, where everyone's a society where everyone's a hermit, where,
where everybody's looking out for number one only.
Well, that's what everyone does anyway.
But the funny thing is that to the degree that you let people, they go, they may, if they're exposed to continually being battered around, that's the first thing they're going to look. It's like, why do teenagers rebel? Because they've been told, go there, and you don't really have a choice. And they say, well, screw you. What do you want me to do? Okay, I'm doing the other thing.
And guess what? They don't have empathy, or not nearly as much as they could, like you just talked about, because they're not allowed to be themselves.
Exactly.
They're not allowed to take care of themselves. They're not allowed to learn on their own.
I wouldn't say they're not allowed, because it really, at the bottom line, they do whatever they still do it. They still choose.
Right.
It's just like, but if you paint people into corners where you limit their choices, like, well, either I submit or I sacrifice my very being. Well, you're limiting the choices. Yeah. And you can't expect a teenager to be wise enough to go, I I don't care what they say. I'm going to do the right thing, whatever, even if it's what they say. You know, because growing from a child to a teenager is a process of going from one who's necessarily dependent to finding independence, and that's where we get hung up. And in society, we've trained people to be dependent forever, and that's why they hew to government.
Yeah.
And I'm not for tearing government down. I'm for making it irrelevant by people growing up.
That is tearing it down.
Well, but not first.
Right.
Because I actually realized, I've looked at this a lot, and I've realized that there's a lot of workable things that are part of culture that you don't want to throw out.
But who will build the toll booths?
Yes.
The toll booths.
Well, we got a break coming up before we go any further.
Well, we got our final segment with John Ferguson coming up. And
we know who's going to build the roads. Who's going to build the toll booths?
Well, we had a lot of experience with that in Mexico. You've probably heard. But we'll be right back, guys. Stay tuned.
Easy.
Don't let me down, Bruce Jenner. You know that song? It's a good song. Thank you. All right, welcome back to the final segment of the Crypto Show here on this lovely March 6, 2016. And just to give our quick rundown, don't forget our sponsors, Brave New Books and Hill Country Home Improvements. And don't forget Logos Radio Network.
4 days past Texas Independence Day.
There you go. Exactly.
Forgot all about it, but
oh well. Well, next year. But we are talking with John Ferguson. We're talking about we're talking about Safe Network, and more importantly, we're talking on a more fundamental level about choice and how important that is, as not just as we go forward in this context of the United States and the 21st century and the globalized world, but in general as part of the human condition and what that means to be human. Because again, you don't have to really get philosophically nitpicky to understand that choice and at least the illusion of free will is part of our everyday experience. And so it's really crucial to understand that. And it's tied in with happiness. It's tied in with fulfillment and satisfaction because, you find that the less choice people have, certainly when it comes to important matters, the less happy they are. They may not realize it in part because, say the system has brainwashed them into accepting limited choice, whether it comes to currency or political parties or X, Y, and Z. And, but we have the beauty is not just the philosophical revolution we're having with the Austrian school and libertarianism or various other ideas like that, but with the revolution we're having in choice with technologies like Safe Network.
Well, yeah, and it's amazing. It goes in so many different directions. That's what attracted me initially to Bitcoin, is that, hey, whatever good or bad there is in the system overall, if I have it and I keep my keys secure, only I can spend it. Well,
it's me, Javis.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mexican Danny.
Well, let's see. Javis. No, no, that's huevos. Anyway.
Javis is key.
No, I know.
Whoa,
I know.
Guys.
It takes huevos to have Javis.
Keep it clean,
no, but
guys.
anyway, the point is it empowers one to have control over that which is one's by the virtue of the fact that you've got control over it.
Right.
And anyway, I ride this hobby horse regarding choice because it's kind of one of those little things that hangs out in the universe that actually, if you pull on it, the whole thing falls apart, because really it's at the basis of all our experience. And even though we seem to not have choice, where you can go, oh, they're not giving me any choice. I'm sorry, you always do.
Well,
that's one thing that's so wonderful about the allegory of the Matrix is that if you watch it, that's really at the core of what they say. Oh, choice. That's what it's all about.
Choice.
If you got to even at some subconscious level, they have to accept the program. And that's really really what's going on is we accept the program. We accept programs. And that's why I'm really careful to not, it's not about tearing down what exists. It's a matter of because intertwined with a lot of what exists are structures that are valuable.
You take a blue pill. The story
ends. You stay in, you wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
And right there, he's saying you choose. So I mean, really, it gets pedantic and it gets stupid, but I like to write it because at the basics of it, it's also saying, I'm sorry, You're not a victim. You can't be a victim. Really, not completely.
Because you're choosing, yeah.
I mean, you can be the effect of some circumstance. Somebody can be mean to you, somebody could be cruel, but you always have an option to go, well, how am I going to take that?
Yeah.
Do I have to assign that that's horrible and ruined my life, or I go, wow, that's pretty crappy. I think I'm going to do something different. So I don't know. That's inspired me, and I like to share it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so hot on the Safe Network. And there's a surprise coming on that same in the near future. Yes, you'll see. I'll come back on after the surprise.
No, tell us about the surprise now.
No.
No, that's great. I love it.
Something along this line, though.
Excellent. I can't wait. I love these little cliffhangers that some of our cooler guests leave us. It's with their. Now we actually. I'm not going to say it. It's not a surprise to me because I got little birdie told me off air a little something about it. But guess what? I'm not going to tell you. That's my choice. You know why? Because that makes for better radio, and I pledged not to divulge.
Kiss my butt.
Eat my shorts. You should get some Simpsons audio clips there.
No.
But it's some really exciting stuff. All I have to say is, so be ready for John to return to the show in the near future. Do you know when roughly this might be announced? Soon?
Next couple of weeks, maybe.
Oh, pretty soon then. That's awesome. Excellent.
Will there be a collaboration?
No,
or will it just be solo?
It's just something. Just something.
Okay, well, we'll find out pretty soon.
Interesting.
Is it like a little something?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, or go ahead.
No, I'm saying we got some time. Let's get on to something else before Danny does something stupid.
I know. Well, too late a dozen times over, right? Well, this is sort of a side thing. I don't even know if
have a bad time.
Am I right? I don't even know if you're aware of this. I just found out about this last week from Brian Deary of Factum, but I don't even know what to think of it yet. In fact, so basically last year, the NSA announced that the cryptography behind, the cutting edge cryptography, the elliptical curve cryptography that Bitcoin uses and basically everything else uses. And I think the other kind is RSA, which is an older version, not as secure in some respects. The NSA basically put out this sort of memo, are you familiar with this?
A little bit. Yeah.
And this memo or announcement sort of implying that they're abandoning it or they're encouraging that people to abandon it.
I think I think I have a different related, and I think it has to do with the fact of those things are all based upon extremely large prime numbers that they've considered for forever to be unpredictable, completely random. Mm-hmm. I think it has to do with a book called Breaking RSA Codes for Fun and Profit that was put out by someone named James McCanney, who's I don't know if you've heard of him.
That sounds familiar.
He's an independent scientist that's never taken. He has a radio show, jmcc.sci. I'll promote it. You can take
I've seen something on Netflix with him.
Take it for what we'll take him and everything he puts forward for what he is. But he's done some really meaningful work. Anyway, huge body of work. He's never taken any government money. So he's independent.
Good for him.
But one of the things that's based upon is a previous book, which has to do with calculate primes. In other words, he's cracked the patterns of how to predict prime numbers.
Has this been proven mathematically?
I don't know. Yeah, well, I mean, he proves it mathematically in his book.
Really?
Now, whether that we will never find that, and I can't do it, in terms of proof. So that's for those powers. But it was shortly there. It was just a little while thereafter that they finally said, well, maybe there's something that's not quite as secure as we thought.
Well, that's likely connected
because they're based upon. Yeah, I believe that's the case.
Isn't it kind of irrelevant because the same things that you use to crack the old things, you will use to create the new keys. Like quantum. Yeah, they're saying that quantum computing will break all this. Well,
but you can also then quantum cryptography. Yeah. But the neat thing about the Safe Network, to circle back to that, is that the design of the network is such that even if the encryption algorithms are compromised, it's still a pretty rock-solid network in terms of security and privacy because of the way things are encrypted and the way things are distributed. Nobody knows where they are. They're random chunks. They don't know where they go with what. And you've got to basically have what is – I don't know if you're familiar with one-time pad cryptography, where basically you encrypt and decrypt something with a one-time completely random key.
Huh.
That's just static, Basically, the way files are encrypted on the Safe Network, the self-encryption process, it basically creates a one-time pad for which you hold the key. And only that can find the chunks and decrypt them only in relationship to each other. So even with a crack, and David Irvine designed it that way to say, well, even if these codes are compromised, we still have a level of security. So that's a really important thing about the Safe Network. In terms
That's
of
cool.
It's not just, it's physical security because nobody knows where the files are stored. Nobody, not even anybody on the network. You don't know what you're storing. You know, the mathematics of it I cover actually pretty well in the Safe Network school. But there's levels of security here that just haven't been seen before. It's cool. And so, yeah, that on encryption, I had seen something on that, but I think I know where that came from. And anybody who wants to find out, check out James McKenney's works, jmccsci.com.
jmccsci.com.
It calls for James McKenney Science, JMCCSCI.
That's awesome. I'll have to check it out.
It's worth checking out. Make of it what you will. I'm not putting, this is all gospel or anything, but he's got a lot of interesting stuff that I listen to his podcast regularly because, in and amongst everything, he says some good stuff.
Right. Yeah. And I will say, I found out from Brian Deere too, we're almost to the end. I don't even know, but the NSA had basically developed RSA and elliptic curve cryptography and then, kind of released it, declassified it, went out into the mainstream. So I wouldn't be surprised if, aside from this gentleman, if maybe they had already separately, independently.
They fought like hell to keep it from coming out. If you remember back in the 90s, that was a whole project where they, cryptography is illegal and you can't export it. It's a weapon, Right. So, that got printed up in a book. The basic data got printed up in a book and they tried to take it out and they said, well, you saying that I don't have freedom of speech taking this printed stuff?
Right. No, it's crazy. Although on the flip side, Wall Street bankers protested the Federal Reserve Act that they produced. So I don't know. You never know. It's hard to say, but all interesting stuff. Check out Safe Network websites real quick.
Yes. Safecrossroads.net is my offerings. SafeNetwork.org is the central clearinghouse for almost anything and everything having to do with it. And
John Ferguson, thank you.